Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Francesca and today my video is all about the 12 universal laws, and I'll be breaking them down so you not only understand them but giving you insight as to how these laws affect our daily lives. I'm also interested to know how many of y'all have heard about the 12 universal laws, which ones you know about, and leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Would love to hear from y'all and see how many of y'all have heard about these. So if you're interested to learn more about the 12 universal laws, stick around and we're going to jump right into them. So law number one is the law of oneness. Now this law states that we are all connected. That means every plant, every animal, us, the trees, the river, the oceans, we are all connected to one another. Now this law is important because since we're all connected, every action, every inaction, the action that we don't take has an effect on everything else. So this can come into play in your life. Say you work somewhere and someone comes in and they've been having a bad day already and they ask you for some help. Well, instead of helping them, find something or telling them or showing them where it's at, you kind of just like move them along and point them in a direction of where it's at. And then this person, they've already been having a bad day and it kind of makes them even more frustrated. And they go around, about their day and they go home and maybe like they're already frustrated. So they take it out on their spouse or, they take it out on their kids or something. And you had that opportunity to kind of help them have a better day. But you kind of just like sent them on their way. And that can work and vice versa. So you say you did help them or you did something good and that kind of like changed their attitude for the day, and so they went home and they had a better day, and they're like, they go home and they're like, honey, I was having a bad day, but this person helped me, and it really kind of helped, my mood. So that's one way that this law, the law of oneness, is an example of how how that can come about and how we're all connected, and everything that we do has an effect on everybody else. So law number two is the law of vibration. This law basically states that everything is vibrating at a subatomic level, even though it may appear to be solid. So let's take this, my dresser. My dresser may appear to be solid, but at a subatomic level, it's actually moving and vibrating. Basically means that we are essentially human radio towers. We're emitting this frequency. And just like a radio tower, you listen to the radio and you have to tune into a certain station or channel. That's what we do. So when we emit this frequency, we are putting it out. And so whatever frequency we are at, we are attracting that same frequency. So like attracts like. So if we are putting out good and positive vibes, we are going to tune into that channel and get good and positive vibes back. Law number three is the law of action. So this law states that we must take intentional action in order for our dreams and desires to manifest into our reality. Whatever it is that you want to manifest, you have to take action towards this. Let's say you want to feel better about yourself. You want to feel more fit. So in order to, feel that way or look that way, you have to take action towards that. So you can work out, you can try to eat better, or take a walk, like gradually work yourself up to that intention of you feeling better. But you have to take action in order for that to happen. Law number four is the law of correspondence. This law states that whatever you hold to be true within yourself is then manifested in your outer reality. So whatever beliefs that you hold to be true in your conscious and your subconscious mind, this is then reflected back to you in your outer world. So this, that saying is as above, so below, as within, so without. This law also states that patterns will repeat themselves throughout the universe. So this has to do with like you know, say you make the same mistake over and over again. It's going to repeat itself over and over again until you learn from it. And then that mistake will no longer happen because you've now learned from it and you won't make the mistake again. So that's like the law of correspondence, how it corresponds. Law number 5 is the law of cause and effect. So next to this law, I put the law of karma. So this basically says that everything that we do has an effect. For every action, there's a reaction, which basically is like what we sow is what we reap. So knowing this, knowing that every thought, every word, every action that you take, every desire that you have has an effect on everybody else. So it's very good to be mindful of the things that we do. Law number 6 is the law of compensation. So this law is very similar to the law of cause and effect, but it goes a step further in that what you put out, you get back in abundance. So for example, if you wish ill on somebody, you're going to get that back in abundance, and vice versa. If you wish something good or, put out good towards somebody, you're going to get that back in abundance. But the thing to this is that you have to do it with pure intention. Say it's just like when you give to like a homeless person, and you have to give it with pure intention, because if you're giving them knowing like, in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, I'm going to give them to this, but they're probably going to go buy like beer or going to go buy something else with it instead of like, buying food. You're not really giving with pure intention. If you give knowing, like I'm going to give them this money and what they do with it is what they do with it, but I'm giving it to them, out of the goodness and the kindness of my heart, I'm giving it with pure intention, then you're going to be blessed and you're going to get that back in abundance. Now, the 7th law is the law of attraction. This is probably one of the most well-known laws. This law basically states that what we think and what we feel, and what our beliefs are then reflected back to us in our outer reality. Like attracts like. The energy and the frequency that we emit out is then reflected back to us, and everything that you see in your life is basically a reflection of your thoughts and your beliefs. So a good example of this that I often come across a lot is oftentimes I'll be thinking about my mom, and I'm like, I'm thinking about her. I'm like, how's she doing? How's her day going? And then bam, she'll either call me or she'll text me. And there's days and when we'll like text each other at the same time, which is pretty crazy. And it's because like, like attracts like, we're attracting that to us. We were thinking about that. Another example is sometimes like when we go to the grocery store. I don't know if this has ever happened to anyone, but you go to the grocery store and you're like, man, I would really like that front, that front parking space. And what do you know? You get that front parking space, Law of attraction, coincidence? Maybe law of attraction. Law number 8 is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. So this law basically states that everything is always constantly in motion, which means nothing is set in stone. And this is good because this means that at any moment we have the opportunity to change our lives and make it what it is that we want. Nothing is set in stone. We can change it. An example of this is, if there's something that you don't like in your life, that you have the opportunity to change it. Nothing in this world is permanent. Everything is always changing. So if you don't like, the way you feel about yourself, you don't like the way you look, you have the opportunity to change that. And just like I mentioned previously before, you have to take action in order to change that. Law number 9 is the law of relativity, which basically means that everything in this universe is neutral. It isn't until we give something meaning that we see it as good or bad. So everything seen in isolation, it's neutral. So say, a knife, for example, you see a knife and a knife is neutral. We're the ones who give it a meaning of good or bad. So you can see it as good as a tool to use when you cooked, to cut up your vegetables, and because without a knife it'd be kind of hard to cut up some vegetables. Or some people see it as bad. They see it as a weapon to kill somebody. So that's an example of how we give meaning to something as good or bad. Another perspective on this is that saying, one person's trash is another person's treasure. So, what someone throws away and sees as useless, somebody might see like, oh man, I can really turn this into something good and, useful. So it just depends on our perspective. Law number 10 is the law of polarity. This law states basically that everything in this universe has an opposite. So say, with our thoughts, if we didn't know, what a negative thought was, we wouldn't know what a positive one is. So now that we know, okay, like these are negative thoughts. I don't want to think these negative thoughts. We can change that and think a positive thought. It's basically, there's like the saying, there can be no light without darkness. There is no life without death. It's basically the law of polarity. Everything has an opposite. Law number 11 is the law of rhythm. This states that everything in the universe has a rhythm or a cycle. An example of this would be the Earth. The Earth has a natural rhythm and cycle. Those cycles are called seasons. We have winter, spring, summer, and fall. Those are the Earth's natural cycles. It's good to know, or see when, there's a rhythm or a cycle to something, because then you can work with it instead of in opposition of it. It's just like the animals. The animals know, okay, winter's coming. We have to prepare for winter. They are in tune with the Earth's cycles. So in order to prepare for that, they begin to gather food, and, like bears will start to eat more and get prepared for when they're hibernating. This is an example of, working with the natural cycle and rhythms of, the Earth and the universe, rather than working in opposition with it. Law number 12 is the law of gender. So this law basically states that everything has a masculine and a feminine principle to it, yin and yang. This law also states that everything needs time to grow and mature. This law is kind of, the way I wanted to explain it is the seahorse, which is like one of my favorite sea animals. The seahorse is actually pretty interesting to me because the females will be the ones to kind of grow the babies, but then when it comes to time for them to be birthed, right before they're going to be birthed, they will transfer these eggs over to the male, and the male is the one who will give birth to the seahorses. When I learned about this when I was younger, I was like so blown away, because I was like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I've also heard of fish that when there's an imbalance in their population, from male to female, if there's more females, there's some female fish that will actually turn into males. So they have both the female and male aspect, or the ability to change. And I thought that was really interesting too. So that's an example of how in nature, nature, there's a female and male aspect to all of us. And even like with myself, I'm female, but I have masculine, energies or principles, because I'm not necessarily like, girly girl. I grew up and I was like really tomboyish. I like to do a lot of things that boys did. But I'm still female, and I like to, to put on makeup and all that. So that's, that balance of balancing that male and female aspect, that yin and yang. So these 12 laws have formed the basis of how our universe functions. Just becoming aware of these laws can, dramatically change your life, because now, now you know about these laws, you can work with these laws and use them to your advantage instead of, you know, not being very mindful of them and then them being a disadvantage to you. I hope you learned a little bit about the 12 laws of attraction. If you would like to know more about one specific law or a couple of specific laws, let me know down in the comments below, and I can make a video and go more in depth into these laws. I know I kind of like did a brief overview of them, but don't forget to check out my video on the law of attraction. I will leave a link in the description down below, also at the end of this video, so that you can check that out and learn more about the law of attraction and how you can use the law of attraction to manifest and create your reality and what you would like it to be. I hope you learned a little bit more about these laws, and I'm so excited for these next coming videos. So make sure to hit that like button if you like this video, and the subscribe and the notification bell so you can get notified of when I make new videos. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. I hope y'all have a blessed and prosperous day. I'm really hoping it gets sunny because it's been kind of rainy and dreary out here in Texas. But hopefully it's sunny wherever y'all are at. And y'all have a good day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.